The galaxy had many borders, lines drawn by powerful empires and guarded by fleets of warships. But one border was different. One border was silent, empty, and feared by all. It was the border of human space. No one spoke loudly about it, not in the markets of the Orion trade hubs, not in the royal halls of the Vorn Dominion, not even in the secret gatherings of smugglers. The rule was always the same, whispered in low voices. No ship must ever cross into human territory. It was not just law, it was survival, because those who crossed never returned. Legends filled the void of truth. Some said humans had weapons that tore fleets apart without a sound. Some said humans were not even fully alive anymore, but machines wearing flesh. Some even said they were ghosts of an ancient war, haunting the dark. But no one had proof. No one had answers, only fear on the edge of the Rillis Empire. Captain Drek sat in his command chair aboard the warship Iron Fang. He was not like others. He did not believe in ghost stories. He believed in power. He believed in conquest. The border of human space was close, closer than it had ever been. For years, Drek's empire had watched that border with hungry eyes. If humans were real, if they were truly powerful, then why did they not expand? Why did they not take more territory? To Drek, silence meant weakness, and weakness meant opportunity. He rose from his chair, his scales catching the dim red light of the bridge. His crew watched him with unease. "We are hunters," he said in a firm voice. "And the galaxy hides behind lies. They tell us to fear the humans, but I will show you the truth today. The Iron Fang will cross into their space, and we will see if the old tailies are real or not." His first officer shifted uncomfortably. "Captain, with respect, no ship has returned." Drek finished the sentence with a sharp smile. "And maybe they were weak, maybe they failed where we will not. History is written by those who dare, not by those who hide." The order was given. The Iron Fang turned toward the invisible border. Nothing marked it. No stations, no satellites, no mines, just a line on a star chart, a line every species obeyed without question. As the ship moved forward, silence filled the bridge. The usual chatter of officers died away. Only the hum of the engines and the faint beeping of consoles remained. The stars beyond the border looked the same as any other, bright, cold, and endless. But to the crew, they felt different, heavier, as if the darkness itself was watching. Drek sat tall, eyes forward, his heart steady. "Status," he demanded. "Shields holding, weapons ready, engines stable," his officer replied, though his voice trembled slightly. "Good," Drek said. "Then let the galaxy remember this moment, the day the Iron Fang entered human space." The ship crossed the line. At first, nothing happened. The crew let out quiet breaths, tension easing for a heartbeat. Drek allowed a thin grin. "See? Stories, nothing more. There is no monster here, only empty stars." But then, the sensors flickered, faint readings, strange signals. They were not coming from any planet, not from any ship. It was as if the space itself whispered. The crew leaned over their consoles, confusion spreading. "Captain, we are detecting something, multiple signatures, moving fast, no clear form." "On screen," Drek ordered. The view shifted. The stars stretched wide across the screen, but now shadows moved among them. Faint, almost invisible shapes gliding through the void. Sleek, silent, like hunters circling prey. Drek narrowed his eyes. "Enhance." The image sharpened, and the crew gasped. Small ships, hundreds of them. But they made no sound, no transmission, no heat. They were black against black, hidden, until they wanted to be seen. "Drones," whispered an officer. "They are surrounding us." Drek felt a chill at the base of his spine, but he pushed it down. "They are machines. Nothing more, ready weapons. If they strike, we will cut through them." The shadows stopped moving, the screen filled with silence. Then a sound cracked through the bridge. Not static, not alien code, but a clear voice, speaking in simple standard tongue. "You should not be here. The words were calm, flat, without anger. But they froze every soul on the bridge. Drek stood, his claws gripping the armrest. "Identify yourself," he demanded, trying to sound firm. No answer came, only silence, the shadows still circling, sensors still whispering. The crew's scales prickled with fear. One officer muttered, "Captain, we should leave." Before, silence, Drek snapped, but even his own voice carried a trace of unease now. He stared at the dark ships, countless, patient, like predators, testing their prey. The border had been crossed, the first step taken, and Drek realized something he would not admit to his crew. The stories might not have been lies after all. Because in that moment, in the cold silence of human space, he felt something he had never felt before, something stronger than doubt, heavier than fear. He felt watched, and the watching was not from machines, not from shadows, but from eyes that understood him, eyes that had seen countless enemies before, eyes that waited, deciding whether to let him live or to make him disappear like the others. The Iron Fang drifted deeper into the dark, and the crew held their breath. The galaxy had told them to never enter, and now they understood why. The voice returned, calm and final. "Turn back or be destroyed." Drek's grin faded, but his pride would not let him speak the words of retreat. The bridge filled with silence. The crew stared, waiting for his command. The shadows closed in tighter. The first chapter of the Forbidden's border had begun, and there would be no turning away from the truth now. The border of human space was behind them now, and still the crew of the Iron Fang could not breathe easily. They had crossed the line. They had seen the shadows. They had heard the voice, but nothing had yet struck them. Silence pressed against every wall of the ship, a silence so heavy that even the hum of the engine seemed too loud. Captain Drek sat in his chair, eyes locked on the dark display before him. The shapes still lingered outside, faint, almost invisible. Hundreds of black forms sliding around them with the patience of predators. His crew tried to avoid looking at the screen, their hands shaking at their stations. One officer whispered, "Why do they not fire? Why do they just watch us?" Drek's jaw tightened, his pride burning against the crawling fear. "Because they want to test us. They want to know what kind of hunters we are. But we will not run. We will not show weakness." He leaned forward. "Send a signal. Open a channel to the nearest of those machines. Demand identification." The comms officer hesitated, his claw hovering over the control, then pressed it. A message burst from the Iron Fang. "This is Captain Drek of the Rillis Empire. Identify yourselves or prepare to be engaged." The bridge waited, every breath held. The signal echoed into the void, and then came the reply, a voice, cold, calm, and clear. "You are inside human space. You should not be here." Some of the crew flinched at the words. Drek's eyes narrowed. "We are explorers, not trespassers. We come seeking dialogue," he lied smoothly, his tongue sharp as a blade. The silence stretched again, but the shadows moved slowly, deliberately. One of the black drones drifted closer, its shape sliding into view on the screen. It was small compared to the Iron Fang, but sleek, sharp, like a knife designed not for defense but for ending. Its surface glowed faintly with strange patterns, markings that no one could read. "Captain," the science officer spoke with a trembling voice, "it's technology. I cannot analyze it. It doesn't match any known empire. Even the core worlds have nothing like this." The drone stopped only a few hundred meters away, facing the Iron Fang like a hunter locking eyes with its prey. Then its body shifted, opening panels of light that formed something like an eye. The crew froze, and then the voice spoke again. "You will leave now." The words were not shouted, not angry, but they felt heavier than any threat. Drek's claws dug into his armrest. He would not show fear. "Weapons ready," he ordered. "Lock onto that drone." His crew hesitated, fear pulling them back, but training and duty forced them forward. The targeting systems lit up, crosshairs painting the strange black ship. The bridge lights dimmed as energy built inside the Iron Fang's weapons. Fire, Drek commanded. A lance of plasma shot through the void, striking the drone directly. The explosion lit up the dark. The bridge filled with a flash of white. Fire! The crew gasped, then fell silent, because the smoke cleared, and the drone was still there. Untouched, not even scorched. What? What is this? The weapons officer stammered. Captain, our readings show the shot. It just vanished, like it was swallowed. The drone's eye flared brighter. The voice returned. You are warned. Drek slammed his fist against the console, rage burning away his fear. Full barrage, all weapons, destroy it, the iron. Fang unleashed its arsenal. Plasma beams, rail cannons, missiles, a storm of firepower that could level a city. The bridge shook with the roar of its own weapons. The void blazed with light as the alien drone was drowned under the assault. Explosions rippled across the darkness. The crew clung to their stations, some daring to hope. It must be destroyed. One whispered, but as the fire faded, the void was clear, and the drone still hung in place. Untouched, not a single scratch across its dark hull. The bridge went cold, heart sinking. One officer trembled. Captain, it cannot be harmed. Drek's chest tightened, his pride clashing with reality. He had never seen such defiance of power. No ship in the galaxy could survive such an assault. Yet this thing stood there, calm, waiting. The voice spoke again, sharper now, final. You do not understand. You cannot harm us. You should not be here. The drone moved back. And then the shadows stirred, hundreds of them, thousands perhaps, sliding closer, circling tighter around the iron fang. The display filled with their shapes, each one with that same glowing eye. Panic rippled through the crew, whispers turning to fear. Captain, they will crush us. Another cried, we must retreat. Silence, Drek roared. Though his own voice cracked under the pressure, he looked into the endless dark, into the countless eyes staring back, and he felt something alien grip his chest, a cold dread. Unlike any battlefield before, the humans were not just guarding their space. They were letting him see, letting him understand. This was no border. This was a wall built from fear. A wall made not to keep humans inside, but to keep the galaxy out. The ship shook suddenly, alarms blaring. Engines offline, the engineer shouted. I don't understand. Something has locked us in place, like gravity itself is holding us. On the screen, the closest drone flared again, beams of unreadable data flooding their sensors. The systems of the Iron Fang flickered, shields collapsed, weapons shut down one by one. They are inside our ship, the science officer whispered in horror. They are inside everything. Drek's eyes widened. He realized the truth too. Late, humans had not built ships of war. They had built predators, and predators did not just fight. They hunted, they disabled, they controlled. They decided when prey lived and when it died. The voice returned one last time, quieter, closer, as if it were inside their very skulls. This is your only mercy. Leave and never return. The crew looked to Drek, their eyes begging, their fear unmasked. The captain clenched his claws, his pride screaming against the cold weight of reality. He wanted to deny it, to resist, but deep down he knew the truth. They were not hunters here. They were prey, and the shadows closed in to remind them of it. Iron Fang drifted deeper into human space, and though its hull was strong and its crew trained, silence was the strongest enemy they had ever faced. The silence was not empty, it was heavy, alive. As if the void itself breathed around them, on the bridge. Every officer kept their eyes on the screens, but none dared speak. The memory of that cold voice, "You should not be here," still pressed on their minds. Captain Drek sat in his chair like a statue, his scales catching the dim glow of the consoles, his pride refusing to bend. For long minutes nothing moved, and then the sensors flickered again, faint blips, shifting across the darkness. "Captain," the science officer whispered, I detect movement, but the readings do not make sense. They appear, vanish, appear again, as if space itself is hiding them. Drek leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. On screen, the stars filled the display, cold and endless at first. Nothing seemed wrong, then shapes slipped between the light. Faint, blacker than the void itself, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, gliding without sound. Without heat, without signal, like shadows of ships. The crew froze, and then one of the shadows broke away, moving toward them. Closer and closer until the screen caught its form. A sleek vessel, small but perfect. Every line smooth, sharp, built for speed and death. And its surface shimmered with faint silver lines that looked more like scars than markings. The first officer's throat tightened. It's not like anything in our records, Captain. I cannot even scan its material. It swallows our signals. The alien drone hung in front of them, silent, staring. Its hull opening just slightly to reveal a faint glow, like an eye, and then came the voice, clear and steady. You were warned. Drek's claws tapped against the armrest. His pride battled the icy fear crawling inside him. We are explorers, he lied again, his voice firm. We only seek to understand your kind. We bring no threat. The drone's glow pulsed, then faded. As if the machine itself did not believe him, the silence returned, heavy, pressing against their chests. A young officer whispered, Captain, we should leave. We are not welcome. Drek turned sharply. No, we came to learn the truth, and the truth will not be found by running. He leaned forward, his voice rising. Target the drone. Prepare to fire. The weapons crew hesitated, but training overcame fear. The crosshairs locked onto the silent ship. Systems hummed, energy built in the guns. Drek's voice thundered. Fire. A beam of plasma ripped across the void, striking the drone directly. The bridge lit with a flash as if a star had flared. But when the light faded, the drone was untouched, not even a mark across its hull. Shock gripped the crew. The weapons officer's voice cracked. Captain, it absorbed the shot, like it drank the energy. The drone's eye flared brighter, and the voice returned, softer now, but sharper. Leave. Drek slammed a fist onto his armrest. Fury fighting fear. Full barrage now. The Iron Fang roared, missiles launched, cannons blazed. Beams of raw power burned through the void. A storm of destruction that could have leveled a fleet. The bridge shook with the fury of their own attack. The darkness outside lit with fire. And yet, when the storm cleared, the drone still hovered. Calm, silent, untouched. The crew stared, their hearts sinking, their courage cracking. The first officer whispered, It's impossible. No ship could survive that. Then the shadows moved. Every one of the dark shapes that circled them began to close in. Hundreds of eyes glowing faintly. A swarm of silent predators tightening the net. Alarms screamed, consoles flickered. Captain. The engineer shouted. Our drives are failing. I can't explain it. Something is holding us in place. Like gravity but stronger, like a hand closing around us. The drone's eye pulsed again, and the ship trembled. Systems dimmed, weapons shut down. Shields collapsed without a sound. The science officer's voice was weak, almost broken. They are inside our systems, Captain. They are not hacking us. They are rewriting us as if the ship itself is becoming theirs. The crew's fear turned to horror. Whispers spreading. We cannot fight them. We cannot even resist. For the first time, Drek's pride wavered. His claws dug into the chair. His eyes wide as he stared at the swarm outside. They had not just crossed into human space. They had entered a cage, and the cage was closing. Voice came again, but this time it did not echo through speakers. It pressed directly into their minds, cold and calm. This is your only mercy. Leave now and never return. Some crew trembled, some hid their faces, one officer even sobbed. Quietly, Drek felt rage burn in his chest. But it could not stop the weight pressing against him. The truth was clear. They were not hunters here. They were prey, and the predators were deciding if mercy was worth giving. Outside, the shadows stopped, the swarm frozen in perfect silence. as if waiting for Drek's answer. One order could decide their fate. One command could end them. The crew's eyes locked onto him. Desperate, broken, begging. For the first time in his life, Captain Drek could not find words. His pride was a weapon. But here, pride was nothing. The silence stretched. The shadows breathed. The galaxy outside the border slept unaware. And the Iron Fang hung in the void, trapped between pride and survival. The humans had not fired a shot, but already the war was over, and Drek finally understood why no ship had ever returned from this border. Because it was not a warning, it was a choice, and choices always had a price. Asterisk, the bridge of the Iron Fang was filled with a silence that felt heavier than any battle roar. Captain Drek sat stiff in his command chair, staring at the swarm of black ships circling them. The human drones glided without sound, their faint, glowing eyes fixed on the alien vessel like wolves surrounding a wounded beast. The crew whispered in fear, their voices small. "They have shut down our shields. They have disabled our drives. We cannot fight them," one officer muttered. Another added, "Captain, if we stay, we die." Drek's pride clawed at his chest. He would not bow, not to machines, not to myths. He rose from his chair, his tall figure looming over the crew. His voice sharp, "We are warriors of the Rillis. Empire, we do not run, not from shadows, not from fear, we strike." The bridge went still. Every officer staring at him with wide eyes, some with terror, some with hope. Drek's gaze burned with fury. "If they want us to leave, let them. Try to stop us. Prepare all weapons, full power." The weapons officer hesitated, his claws trembling over the controls. "Captain, our systems are weak, shields down, targeting scrambled. If we fire, we reveal our last strength. Then we reveal it," Drek growled. "Better to die fighting than live as cowards." Orders were given. The Iron Fang's great cannons roared to life. The ship shook as energy built in its core. The crew gritted their teeth as missiles slid into launch tubes. The plasma banks glowed red-hot, ready to burn the void. Outside, the swarm of human drones hung in silence, their movements frozen, as if waiting, watching to see what choice the aliens would make. "Fire!" Drek commanded. The void exploded with fury. Beams of plasma lashed out, ripping through the dark. Missiles streaked like firetails of comets. Rail cannons hammered with thunder that echoed across the stars. The swarm was drowned in light, the black drones engulfed in a storm of destruction. The crew cheered for a heartbeat, voices breaking free of fear. "We hit them, Captain! We hit them all!" one officer cried, hope flickering in their eyes. But then the fire faded, the storm cleared, and the bridge fell silent again. The drones were still there, untouched, their black forms sliding calmly through the smoke, their glowing eyes burning brighter. Not one was destroyed, not one was even scratched. The crew froze in horror. Their cheers turned to gasps. "Impossible. No ship can survive that," the weapons officer whispered, his voice shaking. Drek's jaw clenched, his pride fighting the terror in his veins. "Again," he barked. "Fire again." The ship roared once more, unleashing everything it had. The void blazed. The stars themselves seemed to tremble under the storm. But again, when it ended, the drones remained, calm, silent, patient. Then one of the drones moved, breaking from the swarm. It glided forward until it hovered directly before the Iron Fang. Its glowing eye flared with a cold light, and the voice returned, not through speakers, not through machines, but inside every mind aboard. "You cannot harm us, but we can end you." The crew trembled. Some covered their ears, though the sound was inside their heads. Others lowered their eyes in fear. Drek's chest tightened, his claws digging into the chair, but he forced his voice out. "You think you can frighten us with tricks? We are not prey." The drone's light pulsed once, and then the Iron Fang shook violently. Alarms screamed across the bridge. "Engines offline," the engineer shouted. "Reactor destabilizing. Weapons shutting down, Captain. They are tearing you us apart without firing a single shot." The screens flickered, showing strange patterns crawling across their systems. Code they could not read. Symbols that seemed alive, rewriting their machines. The science officer whispered, "They are not attacking us. They are rewriting us. They are." Inside our ship, inside everything. The crew looked to Drek, their faces pale, their courage drained. One officer begged, "Captain, we cannot fight this, please. Give the order to retreat, before it is too late." But Drek's pride roared, louder than their fear. "No, we stand, we fight. We do not crawl away like cowards." He slammed his fist against the console, though his own voice shook. "If they want war, then let them taste it." The drone's light brightened, and suddenly, the swarm moved. Hundreds of black ships sliding forward at once, not fast, not rushing, but with the calm of predators that knew victory was already theirs. The crew screamed as the ship shook harder. Panels sparked, consoles cracked, weapons offline, shields gone, engines dead. The engineer cried, "Captain, we are blind, we are defenseless." The voice filled the bridge again, cold, final. "You should not be here, you will not be warned again." And then it happened, a single beam of light cut across the void, fired from one drone, silent, precise. It touched the Iron Fang's sister ship that had been following at a distance. The Blood Fang. In a single instant, the Blood Fang vanished. No explosion, no wreckage. It was there one heartbeat, and gone the next, erased from existence. The bridge fell into silence. The crew frozen in terror, their minds unable to accept what they had seen. Drek's eyes widened, his pride finally cracking. The humans had not destroyed the ship, they had erased it, as if it had never been. The crew stared at their captain, their hope gone, their courage broken. Drek's claws shook as he gripped the chair. His voice came out low, trembling. "What are they?" The drone's light dimmed, the swarm stopped, the silence grew heavier. The answer was simple, clear, and terrifying. "We are human," the voice said, calm and cold, "and you should not be here." The crew shivered as the meaning sank in. Their weapons had done nothing, their pride had meant nothing. The first strike had been theirs, but the last strike belonged to the humans. And in that moment, the crew of the Iron Fang understood the truth. The legends were not warnings, they were promises of what happened when any species dared to step into human space. And now they knew why no one had ever returned. Asterisk, the bridge of the Iron Fang was drowning in silence, the crew still staring at the empty space where the Blood Fang had been. One moment there, the next erased, gone as if it had never existed. No wreckage, no drifting metal, nothing. Captain Drek's chest tightened, his claws trembling as he gripped the armrest. He had led fleets into war. He had fought against powerful empires. But nothing in his long life had prepared him for this. The humans had not even fired a barrage. They had erased an entire ship with one single touch of light. Fear spread through the crew like fire, whispers breaking the silence. "We cannot fight this, we cannot even run." Another voice trembled. "Captain, they will erase us too." The glowing drone still hovered in front of them, its eye burning brighter than before. And then the voice came again, not through machines, not through speakers, but inside their minds, deep and heavy. "You came seeking war, but you do not understand war." The bridge went still, every soul listening, hearts pounding. The voice carried no rage, no hatred, only a weight that pressed against their bones. The drone's light pulsed, and suddenly, the bridge display shifted, every screen filled with strange images. At first the crew thought it was an attack, but then they realized what they were seeing: worlds burning, cities crumbling into ash, skies filled with fire, oceans blackened with smoke. The images rushed across the screens like a storm of memory. Alien worlds? No, these were human worlds. They saw battles fought not against outsiders, but against themselves. Humans fighting humans, endless wars across their own history. Armies of steel clashing in trenches, bombs falling from skies, mushroom clouds rising, Cities of light torn into dust. The crew flinched, some turned their eyes away. But the images kept coming, sharper, louder, screams of civilians, soldiers charging into hopeless fights, skies glowing red with nuclear fire. The voice spoke again. Before the stars, before the empires, we fought ourselves, our own kind. For thousands of years we drowned in war. We broke our world and rebuilt it, again and again, until we learned. The science officer whispered, voice shaking. They survived this, they did this to their own world and lived. The drone's light shifted. The images changed again, not only destruction now, but also machines rising from ashes, fleets being built, ships forged stronger after each war. Human hands working while cities still burned around them. We learned the price of survival, the voice continued. We learned that peace is fragile, that only strength keeps it alive. We carry our scars. And we do not forget them. On the screen, the image slowed, showing Earth. A blue planet scarred with history, yet alive. Clouds drifting across its surface, oceans deep and vast. Continents marked with the traces of old wars. Drek's heart sank as the truth sharpened in his mind. Humans were not strong because they fought aliens. They were strong because they fought themselves first. Their greatest enemy had been their own reflection, and they had beaten it. The first officer spoke. In a broken voice, Captain, no empire can match this. They built strength not over centuries, but over ages. They learned from every war, from every loss. No wonder no one survives when they enter here. The crew sat in silence, faces pale, eyes wide. The lesson was clear. The humans did not need to fight to prove themselves. They had already mastered war before they reached the stars. The drone's eye dimmed for a moment, and then the voice returned. Sharper now, you bring your fleets, your weapons, your threats. Thinking you know war. But you have never seen war as we have. You cannot imagine it. We ask for peace. And for peace we build walls. But when the walls are broken, we show the truth. The bridge shook suddenly, lights flickering, the ship groaning. But there was no attack, it was only pressure. As if the humans were reminding them of the hand that could crush them at any moment. The engineer cried out, our systems are being shut down one by one. They're inside everything, Captain. We cannot stop it. The drone pulsed again, the voice soft now, almost calm. One of your ships has already been erased. Not out of anger, but as warning. We do not wish to destroy, but if we must, we will. The crew turned to Drek, their faces begging, their fear unmasked. One officer whispered, please, Captain, no more pride, no more lies. If we resist, we die. Drek's jaw tightened, his pride warring with reality. But deep inside, even he understood. His empire had taught him that war was conquest, that strength was domination. But the humans had taught him something else. War was survival. And survival had made them monsters. His voice came out low, rough. What do you want from us? The drone's light dimmed. The swarm pulled back just slightly, as if the predators had decided to wait. Take this lesson back to your kind. Take it to your rulers. Tell them no one enters human space. Tell them what you saw here, so that others may live. The bridge trembled with relief and fear. Some officers broke into gasps, some even wept. The thought of being allowed to live felt like a gift. Drek lowered his head, his pride bleeding into silence. He had wanted to prove the legends false, but now he was the legend. He was the one who had seen what others feared to speak. The drone's light flickered one last time, and the voice faded. Leave and remember. The swarm began to drift back into the dark, melting into the void until nothing remained but empty stars. The Iron Fang sat broken, its engines silent, its weapons dead, its crew shaking. Drek looked around at them, his voice finally cracking. Prepare for return, we will carry the warning. The silence that followed was heavy, but it was not the silence of fear anymore. It was the silence of survival, the silence of those who had seen the truth. And deep inside, every soul aboard understood. The humans had given them mercy not because they were weak, but because they were strong enough to choose. The galaxy told stories of human space, whispered tales of borders no one crossed. Now Drek and his crew knew why. Because the humans were not protecting themselves from the galaxy. They were protecting the galaxy from themselves. The Iron Fang limped through the void. Its hull scorched, its systems broken. But it still moved, it still lived. Captain Drek sat in silence on his bridge, his crew too shaken to speak, their eyes hollow, their scales pale. They had entered human space with pride, with fire, with hunger, and now they returned with silence. Every console flickered weakly. The ship groaned as if it carried the weight of ghosts. Behind them, the stars of human space faded, cold and empty once again, as if nothing had happened. But Drek knew better. His crew knew better. The silence was not emptiness. It was a warning. No one spoke for hours. Only the hum of damaged engines filled the air. The memory of the humans lingered inside their skulls, the voice still echoing. Leave and remember. When finally the border of realist space came into view, the crew let out small breaths of relief. Their hearts still trembling, the first officer whispered, We are alive." But Drek did not answer. His pride burned inside him, shattered and broken. He had wanted to prove the galaxy wrong, to prove the humans were only a myth. And instead he had proven the myth true. The docking was quiet, no ceremony. Greeted them only silence. The station guards stared at the broken warship with wide eyes. Whispers spread quickly. The Iron Fang returned. But where is the Blood Fang? Inside the halls of the Empire. Word raced faster than fire. The High Council summoned Drek within hours, their chamber vast, filled with cold light and tall figures watching from thrones. The air was heavy with suspicion. Drek stood before them, his scales dulled, his voice low. "We entered human space, as ordered." His words trembled, but he forced them steady. "We did not find weakness, we found something else." The counselors leaned forward, their eyes narrow. "Explain." Drek hesitated, his pride screaming against the truth. But the memory of the erased Blood Fang silenced it. He spoke slowly, carefully. "The humans are real. Their power is beyond anything we have faced. They do not fight wars as we do. They erase, they control, they watch. We struck with all our weapons, but they did not fall. They did not even bend." A ripple of disbelief spread across the chamber. Some counselors sneered. "Lies you wish to excuse your failure. You lost your fleet to panic." But Drek's eyes blazed. He slammed a claw against the floor. His voice rose for the first time. "I watched a warship vanish in one breath. No explosion, no wreckage, gone. Do you call that panic? Do you call that weakness?" His voice cracked with the memory. "You send more ships. You will lose them too. You send your fleets, they will vanish, and you will understand the truth as I have." The chamber fell silent, the weight of his words pressing into every corner. The counselors shifted uneasily, but pride was strong among them. One spoke with a mocking tone. "So, the mighty Drek returns not as a conqueror, but as a messenger of fear." The insult burned, but Drek did not rise to it. He only lowered his head. "I return alive, and alive I carry the warning they gave. Never enter human space." The words echoed across the chamber, cold, final. Some counselors laughed, others whispered in doubt. But a few sat still, their eyes thoughtful, their scales pale. They had seen something in Drek's eyes. Something no warrior carried, unless he had stood at the edge of death. The session ended with no answer, no decree. Drek was dismissed, his honor stained, but his truth unshaken. That night, across the Empire, rumors spread like wildfire. The Iron Fang returned. The captain warns of humans, says they are stronger than gods. Others whispered, "He lies to hide his shame. No human ship exists. They are old myths." But in the quiet corners of taverns, in the hidden dens of smugglers, in the secret halls of scholars, the story was believed. Fear spread. It slithered like smoke into every ear. The crew of the Iron Fang spoke in low voices, each retelling the same nightmare, the silent swarm. The glowing eyes, the ship erased, the lesson shown. Some listeners shivered, some laughed, some called them broken by madness, but none could ignore the terror in their voices, the tremble in their claws. And then, as the Empire debated, as rulers mocked, as common folk whispered, something else happened at the far edges of realist territory. Near an unguarded border, strange signals began to appear, faint at first, then stronger, not hostile, not invasive, but there. Patrols reported shadows moving across their scanners. Shapes they could not trace, signals they could not block. Whispers turned to shouts in the war halls. The humans, they are here. Panic spread, fleets were readied, orders shouted, but the signals did not cross the border. They only lingered, like eyes watching from the dark. And then, a single message cut through the Empire's channels, in clear, calm voice. Respect our borders, respect our peace, or see our war. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some demanded war, others demanded silence. But all of them felt the same cold truth. The humans were not only guarding their own space, they were reaching out. They were reminding the galaxy of the warning. In his quarters, Drek sat alone, his pride shattered, his heart heavy. He whispered to himself, "They let me live to carry their message. I was not spared, I was used." And for the first time in his life, Drek felt not like a hunter, not like a captain, not like a warrior of empire. He felt like prey who had been released not out of mercy, but out of lesson. And in the dark, as the signals echoed across the empire, Drek knew the truth. Galaxy had not yet understood the fear, but soon, very soon, it would. The story of the Iron Fang spread through the galaxy faster than light. Some called Captain Drek a coward, others called him cursed. But even those who mocked him lowered their voices when speaking of humans. The words, "No ship enters human." Space echoed in markets, in war councils, in quiet homes. At first, most empires dismissed it. They believed Drek had lost his mind, that fear had broken him. The realist council declared the tale nothing more than shame covered with lies. But then the signals began. Across distant borders, patrol fleets reported strange shadows drifting. In the dark, black shapes that appeared and vanished like smoke. Scanners failed to read them. Weapons refused to lock on. And always there was silence until a message arrived. Calm and steady. Respect our peace or see our war. First empire to laugh at this warning was the Vorn Dominion. A proud and ruthless power, they sent a fleet of 20 warships into the border, boasting that they would tear apart whatever phantom guarded the humans. The galaxy waited. The fleet crossed the line no one dared to cross, and for 3 days there was silence. Then the fleet was gone. Every ship vanished, not destroyed, not burning, gone, their signals erased, their names deleted from the stars. Only one escape pod was found drifting far from the border. Inside was a single officer, his eyes wide, his voice broken, repeating the same words again and again. "We saw them. They let me live. They let me live to warn you." The galaxy went quiet, for the first time in centuries. The great empires stopped their endless rivalries, their constant hunger for more territory. Fear spread into their thrones, into their war rooms. Because if the humans could erase the Vorn fleet as if it never existed, then no empire was safe. And then, something even stranger happened. Human ships began to appear. Not in invasions, not in conquests, but in quiet arrivals. A single warship would drift into the edge of an empire's space, massive and dark, its surface unreadable, its presence suffocating. The ships never fired, never threatened, but always sent the same message. "We do not seek war, but if war seeks us, you will understand fear." Some thought the humans were testing them. Others thought they were preparing for expansion. But what terrified the galaxy most was how calm the humans were. They did not posture. They did not boast. They simply appeared, spoke, and vanished again, like predators reminding prey of their teeth. In the Rillis Empire, Captain Drek watched all of this unfold. His name once mocked, now spoken with respect. He was the first, they whispered. He saw them and lived, but Drek found no pride in it, only weight. He knew the humans had chosen him for one reason: to carry their warning, to spread their fear. In a council meeting, an elder turned to him. Why do they not attack if they are so powerful? Why do they not take everything? Drek answered slowly, his voice low. Because they do not want everything. They want only peace, but peace on their terms. They are not trapped in their space. They are holding themselves back. The words chilled the chamber. Because the truth was worse than war. The humans did not expand because they did not need to. They could come whenever they wanted, and nothing could stop them. At the edge of the Orion trade hubs, a human fleet appeared one night. 10 massive warships, larger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. They did not fire. They did not even move aggressively. They simply hovered near the hub, waiting. Merchants screamed. Stations shut down. Fleets rushed to meet them. But before weapons could lock, the humans spoke. We will not harm you. We are only here to remind you, peace must be respected. And then they vanished, disappearing into the void as if they had never existed. The galaxy grew restless, rumors spread. Some said humans were preparing for something greater. Others said they were everywhere already, hidden in the dark, watching, waiting. And perhaps that was true, because soon, strange things began to happen. Pirate fleets vanished without a trace. Smugglers who dared to cross into human space never returned. Border stations reported shadows lingering in the black. Then gone again, every story ended the same: silence and fear. But what terrified the galaxy most was not their fleets, not their shadows, but their patience. The humans did not demand tribute. They did not demand land. They did not enslave or conquer. They only gave one command: do not enter our space, and we will not enter yours. And yet, everyone knew the truth. Humans could enter whenever they wished. Drek sat in his quarters one night, staring at the stars, his claws tapping the table, his voice a whisper. They do not expand because they do not need to. They already own the one thing no empire can take: fear. He remembered the images they had shown him, their endless wars, their scars, their survival, and he understood. Humans had mastered war not by fighting others, but by surviving themselves. The galaxy was powerful, rich, vast, but all its wars had been against outsiders, never against themselves. And that was the difference. Humans were not born from peace. They were born from conflict, shaped by fire. Now the galaxy began to bend around them. Treaties were signed, borders reinforced, and new laws whispered into existence. No ship shall enter human space. It was not written on paper. It was written in fear, in silence. In the empty places where fleets had vanished, and across the stars, rulers whispered to each other. They do not conquer us, but they could, at any time, with ease. We are alive only because they allow it. The humans had not expanded their territory with weapons. They had expanded it with silence, with shadows, with the memory of what they could do. And Drek knew, deep in his bones, this was only the beginning. The galaxy was learning, piece by piece, that peace with humans was not a choice, it was survival. And in the quiet, in the silence between stars, everyone finally began to understand. The humans were not asking for respect, they were demanding it. Asterisk. The galaxy was never the same after the humans revealed themselves. Stories of their shadow fleets and their silent warnings spread into every empire, every council, every throne room. No one admitted it openly, but in private meetings, in quiet chambers, rulers spoke with fear in their voices. No ship enters human space became a law without needing to be written. Smugglers avoided it. Merchants redrew their maps. Even pirates, bold and reckless, refused to cross that border. The fear was alive, and it spread deeper every day. But still, some empires doubted. Pride does not die easily. the Rillis Council called Drek again, their chamber filled with sharp eyes and sharp words. "You saw them," one counselor said. "But how long before they come for us? Before they decide we are not safe? What happens when they grow hungry?" Drek stood tall, though his heart was heavy. "You do not understand them," he said quietly. "They are not like us. They do not want to rule. They do not want our lands or our fleets. They want silence. They want peace, but only on their terms. If you respect them, they will let you live. If you defy them, you will vanish, as the Blood Fang did, as the Vorn fleet did." The chamber filled with uneasy whispers. Some counselors sneered, others lowered their eyes. But the truth was burning in every corner. No one dared to be the first to test the humans again. Beyond Rillis space, the fear became unity, something the galaxy had never known. Empires that had fought for centuries suddenly sat at the same table, not out of trust, but out of survival. In the halls of the Orion trade hubs, 10 empires signed a treaty, not for trade, not for alliance, but for one purpose: to respect the border of human space. The words were simple: no ship shall enter, no fleet shall cross. It was the first law the galaxy agreed on without war, without debate, because no one wanted to end as ghosts. Still, the humans did not stay silent forever. Across distant systems, their ships appeared. Vast warships sliding from the black, sometimes one, sometimes entire fleets. Never firing, never conquering, always watching, always reminding. Their message was always the same: do not test us. Do not forget the warning. At first, the empires trembled, but as time passed, they began to understand. The humans were not trying to destroy them. They were controlling the galaxy with fear, fear that was sharper than any weapon. In secret chambers, rulers spoke the truth. They do not expand because they do not need to. They already own the stars in our minds. One night, Drek stood on a balcony above the Rillis capital, the sky filled with glittering towers and flying craft, yet his eyes were not on the city, they were on the stars. He thought of the humans, of their silent gaze, and he whispered, "They hold the galaxy without firing a single shot." His first officer, now older and weary like him, joined at his side. "Do you regret it, Captain, crossing that border?" Drek shook his head slowly. "No, because if we had not, we would still live in lies. We would still believe the humans were myths. Now the galaxy knows the truth." His eyes darkened. "And the truth keeps us alive, far from Rillis space, in the shadow of human territory." Another scene played out. Smugglers had dared to test the border, chasing profit where no one else would go. They never returned. Only their empty signals drifted back, erased of content, replaced with a single phrase: "You were warned." The galaxy grew quieter, less bold, less reckless. Some called it fear, others called it survival, but all agreed on one thing: no one wished to wake the humans. Years passed, and the humans remained silent, their fleets unseen, their voices absent, yet everyone still felt them, like eyes in the dark, watching, judging, waiting. One day, at a great council where dozens of empires gathered, a bold young ruler stood and spoke. "If they are so strong, why do they not rule us? Why do they let us live?" The chamber went silent. Drek, older now, stood from his place at the back, his voice calm but heavy. "Because they do not need to rule us. They already conquered the one thing no empire has ever conquered." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. Fear itself, the silence was. Deeper than any speech, every ruler lowered their eyes. Every counselor understood. The humans had no need for thrones. They had no need for banners or parades. Their weapon was history. Their shield was survival. And their empire was silence. The galaxy finally understood. They did not avoid human space out of respect. They avoided it because they knew the truth. If humans unleashed themselves, nothing would remain. And so in every academy, in every fleet, in every hall of power, the lesson was taught, whispered, remembered. No species enters human space. Not because they are weak, but because they are strong. stronger than we can ever imagine. On his final night, Captain Drek sat once more in his quarters, alone, his eyes fixed on the stars, his voice a whisper. They let me live to carry the warning. And the warning became law. He smiled faintly, tiredly. The galaxy obeys not by choice, but by fear. Beyond his window, the stars shimmered, silent and endless. But somewhere in that silence, he felt them, the humans, watching, and he knew, as the galaxy now knew, the fear of humanity was not a story, not a myth, not a rumor. It was the law of the stars, and it would never be broken.